that took a while to load for a second there. Guess because I just turned the console on. But it's time to actually get to see what General Bertram is really like. And he's a man of very few words. Admittedly, his snake talk is a little bit of a weird translation choice. It makes him a bit hard to take seriously, but the thing they're going for is that he's this mysterious berserk warrior who might not even be human at all. So this is that thing that, again, I feel like they should have given this guy a little bit more build-up. Like I said earlier, this is the first time we're actually seeing him, and this is also the first time that we're getting any kind of information on him. So I feel like if less time was devoted to Bertram, more time could have been devoted to building up this guy as a threat. And I still think Four Riders should have been translated as Four Horsemen. So yeah, that was her. Well, more accurately, you defeated her at Riven Bridge. Don't sell yourself short there. We've heard Bryce's name before, and Bryce is the only current member of the Four Riders who served in the previous Four Riders, along with Gawain and Toronio. And the fourth member, who we don't find out about until Radiant Dawn, who's pretty insignificant anyway. And then there's the Black Knight. Interestingly enough, 2 of them are Armor Knights and 2 of them are Paladins. Yes, just like the Black Knight, Bertram is a mysterious general surrounded in mystery. Though I do warn you, don't look up Bertram on the Fire Emblem Wiki if you don't want to be spoiled, because his article redirects to his real identity. Just like the Black Knights, I believe, so don't look him up either. So yeah, we don't even know what the heck Bertram is, whether he's even human or not. Kind of justifies his Daunt skill, though. Bertram probably has that skill because all the soldiers are just terrified of her. I believe the Daunt skill is called something along the lines of Terrify in Japanese, so it's sort of like a fear aura. Well, they certainly can. And so, it begins. And what also begins is a new map theme. This song is called Congregation of Ambition. It's a pretty decent song. There is exactly one thing that I really don't like about this song, and, you have a 1% crit rate on Stefan. Yeah, that just goes to show how bad Stefan's luck is. Not that it really matters when these warriors can't really hit him anyway, but I'll be talking about that thing that I don't like about this song later. These warriors also have a ton of HP, so you'll probably need either strong silver weapons or crits to take them down. And like I said in preparations, I wish Ike started further forward than he does, but unfortunately, that is not the case. Not like he really needs all that much help, though. His stats are pretty good for where he is. Now, the question is, do I smite Gatry up and have him fight the warriors? 18 speed, yeah, actually, you are doubling them. I could have Nephany do it, but she's probably better served by these sword masters. As I said, this definitely isn't a bad song, but there is one very specific reason that I'm not a big fan of it. Probably should have given you some better lances as well. But anyway. Did promise to use Gatry further down, but I might as well have him fight a little bit here. Not killing with the Iron Sword, unfortunately. But yeah, Gatry can... He's totally fine with having weapon triangle disadvantage against these guys. He's pretty much indestructible to them anyway. I said it much earlier in the game, but Gatry's defense is basically overkill. Ike's defense cap of 24 is enough for most of this game on hard mode. You don't really need nearly as much as Gatry has, but it's... I don't know, it's kind of fun to have someone who just barely takes any damage from anything. So, Jill. I might actually need to smite you. Because remember I said last chapter that Jill's going to be getting a lot of action here? Yeah, I want her to take out that Meteor Sage, but I also don't want her to die to magic, because she's not going to like getting hit by Meteor and a Belongul and possibly Warriors. I don't want to break that too soon. Let's use the Bolt Axe for now, even though it's not really going to be doing that much damage. 11 magic isn't that bad for a physical unit, but in my test playthrough, I had Jill with a lot more magic at this point. Okay, yeah, some of you do have long-range weapons. Might have to watch out for that Killer Axe Warrior on Stefan, but it's not going to have much chance of hitting him. Please don't let those be famous last words. And I suppose wherever Ike goes, Soren should follow. Because support range. I like this part of the song. This is probably my favorite part. Now, I seem to remember that there are reinforcements from the early part of the map, so I might want to have Har and maybe Joffrey on hand to deal with them. Possibly Lucia as well. Bastion is not likely to be helping very much at all in this map. I wish he was a Staff Sage, but then again, that would actually make him useful, so maybe that was why. Actually, should have done this a long time ago, but don't know why I didn't do that in the preparations menu. Have to be careful of Valencia, though she does provide a crit guard bonus to Ike, or is it her who gets the benefit of the crit guard? Sometimes I forget which direction the crit guard supports are working in. Oh, dang it, I probably should have chanted for Ike, but oh well. This part of the song's also good. But I do like the previous map theme a lot better. It's kind of interesting how I don't think I've really pointed out very much in this game that the map themes are always the same on both phases. That's actually bad. Because Stefan could get hit by Meteor and that would end very, very badly for him. This is about the point where, like I've said, Stefan does start to suffer a little bit. Because he can't dodge tank nearly as well as other Swordmasters. And I guess that's the first time we're seeing Jill's critical and not kill animation. That just goes to show how good, in giant air quotes, the Bolt Axe is. At least it doesn't suffer weapon triangle disadvantage against these swords. Or blades, in this case. I was hoping for lots of Adept here. Because it's probably the only way the Bolt Axe is actually going to kill things. Well, that's nice, though. Is that A or B? I think that would be A, actually, which means you can use Silver Axes, which is great, because I mainly want you to be using that... Wow. That Axeville Population Your Face axe that I just forged. And a Bow Paladin, which I don't care about, because of the full guard. This game. Not that Jill really cares about arrows that much regardless. Adept does mean you go through weapon uses faster, but with the Bolt Axe, why would you want to save uses on this? It's really not that useful. And Nephany is most likely going to obliterate these guys. Like I said, obliterate these guys. It's kind of funny how Swordmasters just kind of sit down and hang their heads in shame. Just like that boss back from Chapter 19. The shame. That's still probably one of my favorite boss defeat quotes. Though I still think... This is not even from Fire Emblem, but one of my favorite boss defeat quotes of all time is one of the random orc bosses in... I forget which of the Dawn of War 2 games it was, whether it was I think it was the first one, but there's one of them who's, I think he's one of the Death Dread orcs. Either that or in one of the trucks, but basically he, okay, good, no crit animation. His defeat quote is, "The only regret is exploding! Ah!" Which I always thought was pretty good. If I can record it, I might even like try and do Dawn of War 2 someday. Like, there's a lot of people who don't like that. It is definitely less RTS-like than the first Dawn of War, but its campaign is basically an RTS version of Fire Emblem. So that's kind of... Oh, hey, an enemy Staff Sage. That's rare. Well, more like it's rare to actually see them use their staves. Because I don't think there are any enemy Knife Sages, which really goes to show that they really shouldn't have given Sages knives as an option. I think the only reason they did it was to nerf the pre-promoted Sages, honestly. I don't see any... Again, there are no enemy Knife Sages in the game. And that's what I was worried about. That's also what I was worried about. So speaking of healing, I'll need to heal you. And here come the feral ones, well, only one of them. It's actually kind of funny to see a feral one cat, because Australia actually does have real feral cats, and they're actually a pretty serious problem. We also have feral pigs. And camels. We have a lot of weird feral animals. Rabbits are the most infamous. They got introduced to Australia by the British settlers, and it was a really dumb idea, because back in England, rabbits have natural predators. They don't in Australia, so they multiplied to a ridiculous extent, and that ended badly. But at least it wasn't anywhere near as bad as the cane toad incident. I still can't wait until Pokemon does an Australia region. They have to do a cane toad Pokemon, because that would be amazing. Cane toads are just the biggest case of... Cane toad's one of the biggest cases of, yeah, here I am going on bizarre tangents now, but yeah, cane toad's one of the biggest cases of, wow, people were idiots. They were introduced to Australia to deal with the sugarcane beetles that were eating sugarcanes, and they didn't... And the moment that they introduced the cane toads, they found out the hard way that cane toads can't reach high enough to even get to the sugarcane beetles. So they were completely useless at their intended purpose. But even worse, they were also deadly poisonous. So native wildlife couldn't safely eat them. And they were a threat to humans because they were poisonous. And they multiply rapidly. And they damage the ecosystem. It was just one of the most spectacularly bad decisions in the history of everything. So I'm really looking forward to what Pokemon inevitably does with that. I might actually have to... No, that's not bad. I actually get to see Joffrey fight. I've heard some people say they really don't like his armor's color. I don't know, in battle animations it does look pretty bad, but I always preferred him with green armor to the blue armor of Radiant Dawn. I always found his Radiant Dawn blue armor a bit generic. I wish Bastion could heal. Okay, if I am going to be healing Stefan with Elincia, I need to make sure that she can get out of there, because if she gets shot by an arrow, that's going to be dead Elincia. At least it's not nearly as painful as having Elincia get shot by a crossbow in Radiant Dawn. And you don't heal as well as Mist does. Sometimes it's easy to forget later in the game that the Physics Staff only has as much healing power as a basic heal staff. Easy to forget, because usually by the time you have access to Physics Staffs... Oh, that's bad. Usually by the time you have access to Physics Staffs... I don't want to waste something southern, though. That isn't going to kill you. Like I said, usually by the time you have access to Physics Staffs, your healers have such high magic that they don't even need the extra healing power that men tier staffs provide, but... Use Physic on someone with lower magic and you might not end up healing that much. Or, that's a killing edge. Almost didn't realize that. It's not like it really matters when you're not doing very much damage, but still. kind of wonder where the localizers got the name Physic from when it comes to staves. So the problem is I don't entirely trust Stefan to go up there. Do you have... Yeah, you have Physic. The Japanese staff names were always kind of weird. It was like Live, Relive, Libro or Libro, which was Physic. And then... Oh yeah, Fortify is Reserve. But I'm not really sure what a lot of those are supposed to mean. Exactly enough damage. Nice one. And we haven't seen a Paladin rip their cape yet. Maybe that doesn't happen if you're using component cables? That might actually be the case. I'd often just see the cape clip in such a way that it looks like it's being ripped. Okay, that's somewhat dangerous, but... I mean, I probably shouldn't trust Soren to be on the front lines after what happened to him in the fail channel last time, but I guess I'll go for it. Oh yes, and I need to make sure that I have Volk steal some things. Okay, I need you to take 19 damage. So I guess what I'll do here is I will... chant for Titania. With a map this big and with you having so many characters, Rayson's amazing here. I mean, he's amazing all the time, but here especially, he just speeds things up so much. It's good to get him into a position where he can affect many people, potentially. And you're going to get smited. Even though I doubt your hit rate's going to be very good against this guy. Actually, that's not bad. Actually, bolting kills you, doesn't it? Probably will, but terrible hit rate. Well, 68 is not that terrible under true hit, but it's still not that good in my book. And I'm going to go for this just because I want to be sure. For a second I was thinking, oh, I could activate a Adept, but no. Not every Sage has Adept. It's just Soren. Okay, so whoever goes down here risks getting attacked by one thing. Might as well go for the absolute certainty here. I forged this land so much earlier in the game, and now it's still seeing use. And it's only an iron weapon. So forges... In fact, forge iron weapons are actually pretty great, in my opinion, because they have such high uses. They tend to last you a really long time, and you can get a lot of might out of them, too. I'm really not sure where Lucia and Bastion should go here. They should probably stick around the early part of the map. I guess Mordecai will take the lower part. There are going to be reinforcements here, so... Okay, I should mention this. In terms... Like, I have planned out this chapter for optimal experience, routing, I'd say, not routing. But... I want to complete this chapter in 13 turns, because that's what you need for maximum bonus... I have no idea why you went for Gatry, because he's probably going to one-shot you, isn't he? Please one-shot, that'd be great. Yes, I thought so. I mean, are you scared of Stefan's crit rate or something? Why did you go for Gatry of all people? You'd think Stefan would have been a safer option. Maybe, I mean, of course, if you could get to Gatry, you could surely get to Stefan. And speaking of Stefan, that happened. So the reason why I want to complete this on turn 13 is that is the requirement for the maximum amount of bonus experience. I see your fighter band is working. Please gain more strength. Oh, okay. You have way too many of these already, so I guess send that to the convoy. I'm glad you're busy healing, because Stefan doesn't like getting hit by late game mages. Stefan doesn't like getting hit by snipers either. But that wasn't a crit animation, at least. And that probably wouldn't have killed even if it was a crit. So, you can complete this much, much quicker than 13 turns. In fact, you can do this very, very quickly if you use the rescue staff and rescuing and just get Ike to the seize point as fast as possible. But the reason why I want to do it in 13 is because that's when we'll have to deal with most of the reinforcements by then. Now, there are more reinforcements that spawn on turn 15, but by that point, we'll start losing bonus experience, so I feel like sacrificing their experience is worth it. Most of the reinforcements spawn near or around the boss. There's a couple that are proximity triggered, and most of them are turn triggered. It kind of makes sense they'd spawn around the fortress, though. Though I feel like if this was a GBA map, it'd probably have forts scattered everywhere. Okay, I might need to worry about Nephany a little bit. Though, if she gets into Wrath, I probably won't need to worry about her that much. Also, yeah, those generals, they're the hardest hitting things there. Except maybe that bishop, but Nephany has okay resistance, and bishops don't have very much attack power in this game. So, I'm not too worried. And there's the Laguz bow. I still need to test if that was fixed on the PAL version. I've heard people say that it's only effective against Laguz, not flyers, but its description does say Laguz and flyer in this game, so maybe it was fixed in the PAL version. See, Nephany's already gained enough to push her over a level and another 30 more, so this chapter does provide quite a lot of experience, and you are capped on skill now. Now I just need you to cap strength. Sadly, you're not going to cap defense. It'd be great if you did, but you're not going to get there. Alright, you can smash this guy. I love it when Gatry doubles things. Admittedly, the Night Ward has not been that useful on Gatry overall, but it's kind of fun. I sort of wanted to try and get him close to transfer bonuses, but then I realized that he really doesn't need transfer bonuses to speed, because he starts in Radiant Dawn with speed so high to capped anyway. Okay. Ike and Soren haven't really done much on this chapter so far, but I guess they could... Okay, I just realized. I need to be careful when I go here, because Sleep Staff. 17, so that's rounding down, I mean... Or is it rounded up? I think they are actually rounded up, so that would be 8.5, so 9. If I get Jill here, she should be okay. But then Jill might not be able to reach with her movement, or can she? Yes, she can, good. Just hope that I'm out of sleep range. You don't have Restore. Does Mist have Restore? Yes, she has Restore. I could trade that to Alintia too if I really wanted to. As much as I'd want Ike and Soren to fight these guys, Stefan's pretty much getting stuck in now. Or I could use Rayson. But that means that Ike is farther away from the seize point, but considering that I have to drag this out for 13 turns anyway... Suppose Stefan could kill off the mage guy now. How much is he taking from the others? Nothing from you, because you're a bow paladin. And 12 from you. Yes, I'll go for the killing edge here. By the way, I don't know if I've mentioned this yet, but Tormod is the only playable... Actually, no, wait, Bastion looks like a generic sage. Haven't really seen him fight yet, but Tormod looks like a generic mage and a generic sage in terms of his battle models. Forgot that you had Smite for a second. That's not enough, though. I will need to shove him once more, and Ike, be a good friend here and push your friend one space. Yeah, shoving is kind of a weird mechanic, but it's very, very useful. Oh, the cake kind of ripped there. I feel like there'd be a comic... Like, if this game had comics like the Heroes comics, then there'd probably be one making fun of the shove command like that. Okay, that cat is not going to be very doubleable to most people, so... Actually, no. Nephany's going to stay here and throw spears at that cat. As a cat lover in real life, it hurts me to say that sentence, but... This is a crazy enemy cat, and still, you feel so bad for the feral ones because... I can't quite explain how they work just yet, but the whole feral one thing is really tragic. It's just not enough. And that's not enough either. 3 for 3. However, might be able to get a little bit of chip damage in with left first, and then... Or... Actually, wait, no. Don't do that. You don't double... You're not doubling that guy. Do you double anyone here? Double that guy. So I guess I'll go for that guy. Even though you're going to take a lot of damage in return. I need to kill off a lot of these things, or Khalil might be in trouble. Yeah, I also need to physic her. The bishop is perfectly fine, but I'll need to kill off these other things. Well, 1 defense is okay. I think you have more defense than Soren now. Let me just check quickly. Soren... No, but Soren's been getting a little bit defense blessed. Alternatively, I could have miskill something, which I might actually need to do. How much attack power? 20... You do 7. And 9. You know, maybe... That probably gives me better chances overall in case I get a crit or something. There we go. And it's a bright sunny day and you're not even getting glare off of the axe. That's kind of strange. And getting to Kanto, I suppose I should just Kanto you nowhere and have you stay next to Khalil. That's my plan. 10. Does Volk do it? I hate it when that happens. I really hate it when that happens. Just barely not enough. Oh, okay, left's doubling this guy. Are you seriously weighed down by short spears this late into the game? Because if so, that's embarrassing. Then again, enemies in general are embarrassing in this game. Even on Maniac, from what I've seen, their stats still aren't very good. It's just there's so many of them. How's your transform gauge doing? Oh, no, it's fine. That, unfortunately, doesn't do a lot. Even smiting is not going to get you in enough distance. It's not like there's anyone else who can smite you. But, actually... 19 speed, 16 speed. Oh, you don't even have the Brave Axe, so it's probably a bad idea to do that. Okay, so I really need to heal Khalil now. I should also make sure Rayson stays out of range of stuff. At least there aren't any ballistas on this map. As the last chapter showed me, I shouldn't underestimate ballistas. They're actually kind of dangerous in the right situations. And yeah, we're safe from those Wyvern Wards here. This map is so huge, it always reminds me of a Fire Emblem 4 map. Oscar looks the exact same as Jeffrey when promoted, just with less neon armor. But I mean, I don't know, the fact that I don't mind Joffrey's armor in this game probably just goes to show how much I really don't care about aesthetics in pretty much anything. Actually, I need to keep you alive, I need to steal your physics staff. That's why I brought Volk this way. And I will probably be able to do that next turn. And I'm sure we'll be okay on this front. Can Elincia physic any... No, she does have rescue. Which I might want to keep in mind for later. Because I could just warp Soren over here-ish. But I wonder if that's better served on Ike, because I'll need to get into the... And then I just realized I don't need to get into the Seeds Point that fast, because I'm going to take 13 turns here. It's also kind of funny that the map here is called Clash, and yet the battle theme called Clash is the one for the first half of the game, so we don't hear it here. I also love how that was used as the arena theme in Shadow Dragon, which sadly was the last arena theme in the series to be a remix of a battle theme from earlier in the series, which is really unfortunate. Even though Fates had an arena, for some reason they just... Okay, thankfully Joffrey's not equipping a bow. I was worried for a second that he was, but he's not. But yeah, Fates had an arena, and yet they were like, oh yeah, no, let's just use the generic training music for the arena. That was really a shame. Because I always loved hearing the remixes of... Yeah, so I knew the first wave of reinforcements came from there. So we have here a Steel Axe Wyvern Lord with actually pretty good defense. So I'm gonna hope that Ike and Soren can handle it. Although, admittedly, Gatry needs the experience more, and... Okay, a few of them have range weapons, so he's just gonna go over here and put the Javelin. Meanwhile, please tell me that you have enough range. I do have to be a bit careful because, like I said, there is a proximity reinforcement trigger here, and these paladins might also end up rushing Jill. Yeah, she still has the full guard equipped, that's good. Might as well go a little further back. Actually, no, I'll hit you and then I'll canto back there. And I'll use the Brave Axe just because I want you gone. I don't want any risk of Jill taking any damage from that Shine Tome. And we finally see the castle. I was about to say in the distance, but that's not the distance. Also, I didn't even need to use the Brave Axe because Adept. Adept with Brave Weapons is fun, because they do actually stack, so you can potentially get 8 attacks. Oh, right, no, that's... Yeah, you can't canto if you go there, but that's probably fine. Worst thing that'll happen is Jill ends up hogging a ton of experience. Yes, as you can probably tell, this is a really big map. And unfortunately you have a ranged weapon, so I have to... I don't want to waste uses of the Sonic Sword because I am saving it for potentially Mist. Though we are going to be getting the Rune Sword here, so that's another good weapon for Mist. And you'll get back. And I shouldn't press end turn accidentally, even though I don't think it would cost me here. Not quite enough. I hate to waste Smite like... So I won't. I will just use regular Shove. And give me that extra Physics Staff. We will be able to buy these eventually, but I'm not going to say no to a free staff. And I guess, because you're one of the few things Titania can actually kill at this point. But she did really well early on. Yeah, as you can tell, I might struggle to find things to say at this point. Should I start luring you guys in? That tiger could possibly be dangerous. Well, gonna lure the tiger. I also need to heal Nephany. I guess I'll do that with Mist. I should probably have given you a Mend Staff. But I just stole another Physics Staff, so that's probably fine. There's going to be even more stealable Physics Staffs in the next chapter. I know the next chapter very, very well, for reasons. Yeah, next chapter is kind of an annoying one. I mean, it's not like it's a particularly difficult chapter, but it's irritating for all the wrong reasons. I'll be going over that next time. But suffice to say, it's a 2-part chapter, and if you fail part 2, which is almost entirely based on luck, you have to redo all of part 1. It's very, very frustrating. So, the worst that's happened to me, and that was in my test playthrough of this game, like back when I was considering recording it, that took me 5 attempts. It's never been that bad before, but considering my luck on camera, I'm very worried. Very, very worried. I saw a sort of fictitious quote that was invented for a certain card game that said, anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and then had this one character giving an amendment saying, and will probably happen to me. That sums up my luck pretty well. But I just want to mention the fact that that's actually not Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law is totally different, and it's something that gets, that people get wrong all the time. But Murphy's Law is actually, if there are 2 or more ways of doing something, and one of them results in disaster, then someone will do it that way. And it's less about bad luck and more about you need to limit the number of options so that if, you know, something can only be installed one way, then obviously you're not going to have any problems. I think it originated, I'm sure I've told this before, but I think it originated on something involving like NASA and a certain type of plug, and you could install them one way or the other way, and only one way worked. But eventually they fixed it so you can only install the plugs one way, and that made those plugs not fail anymore. It's also more a comment on human stupidity as well. So it kind of got derailed into anything that can go wrong will go wrong, but that's not what it was originally about. And the reason I know that is, it came from the exact same science show as the one that I mentioned earlier about, that explained how it's easier for a cat to survive falling out of a 50-story building than a 7-story building. I used to like obscure facts when I was younger. That was another situation with those murderous maths books. I forget if the attempt where I brought those up was one that I actually failed and thus I didn't actually say it, but in case I haven't said it before, yeah, I grew up with the murderous maths series of books and those were pretty cool. But probability was still my favourite area of maths. It's still one of that and logic. I was kind of okay at set theory as well. It just so happens that most of the elements of maths that were mostly used in computer science I tend to be decent at. Because, yeah, I do have a computer science degree as well as a translation degree, not to brag or anything, in game design. But the game design course was very different to what I expected, but still pretty cool. It mainly focused on board games, but it helped me realize just how board and tabletop games are similar to video games in a lot of ways. And when we were designing our own card games, just how hard it is to come up with a good balanced rule set that's also fun and interesting. But anyway, this is exactly what I thought would happen, and also exactly what I thought would happen, Jill being amazing. And let's hope Gatry's amazing here. Probably not, because javelins are kind of weak. Now, we're actually doing a lot extra damage against these guys with Luna thanks to their high defense, but even then it's still not enough. Luna's not amazing in this game. It's pretty good in the games where it negates defense entirely, which I believe are Radiant Dawn, and I think FE4 it negates defense entirely. Double Luna would have done it there. But at least Gatry can finish them off next turn. Now here, I'm guessing a double Luna would not be enough, because I'm losing power thanks to Weapon Triangle. Not that Gatry cares about the weapon. Actually, I take that back. He does care about the Weapon Triangle. because he took 2 damage there. Congratulations, you're one of the few enemies in this entire game to be able to damage Gatry with a physical attack. And those, I believe, are not proximity triggered. Proximity triggered ones are a Sword Master and a few Paladins who appear right from where the boss is. Yeah, I believe these ones come on turn 5 regardless of what happens. Okay, Jill is kind of fun and experience. Gatry needs to get caught up a little bit. As is the case with Armor Knights. But I still love them. I knew saying that would result in a bad level up. I'm surprised you haven't capped defense yet. If I need to use a Draco Shield to cap your defense, I'm going to be very embarrassed, because that's really, really poor luck. Okay, none of you seem to have range weapons. Though, admittedly, Nephine's not really in need of much experience. Let me try something here. Doesn't double. But I actually... I kind of want to try and... I guess I can go here. I kind of want to try and kill off that enemy with Joffrey, just to show off how hilarious Paragon is. It's even more hilarious in Thrakia, where there's a Paragon mode, and that actually stacks with the Paragon skill, so you can have 4 times experience. I still think Thrakia did a pretty decent job of balancing the game. Because it was one of the few games that actually had pretty good Ests, and mainly due to just giving them Paragon. But also just generally making them pretty good as well. And it's funny, you wouldn't think it would be possible to make Ests worth it in a game where all stats cap at 20, but... Sara is just pretty great. I kind of feel like if they are going to be doing S-type characters in future games, maybe, like... This would still not make, you know, efficiency players use them, but maybe give them, like, 300% growth in their stats or something funny like that. Because, to be honest, they could really use that, and still would probably not be that great, so... Anyway. And here's why I should have given you close range staff. I do find this song gets a little bit repetitive. I like Crimea Marches a lot more. And finally, Rayson can do this. Not these are really the best people to be chanting for at this point. I kind of want Ike to get attacked by a lot of these. You and Soren. But I don't really want Soren to get hit by the Tiger, because Feral 1 Lukus have very high hit rates thanks to their weapons being extremely accurate. Well, I guess I can put you in support range of Ike. It's only turn 5 and I have to wait until turn 13, although those turns will probably go by very, very quickly because I'll have everything dead by then, so it'll just be waiting for reinforcements. Nephine's kind of handling this side all by herself. I probably should have balanced my deployment a little bit better than this, but it's probably alright. That's your only option. Let's not go for that then. And I guess I'll have to use Physic to do that. But that will give Mist a level up. Or I might as well just heal Nephine a little bit. Probably shouldn't because that would mean Wrath, but yeah. Balancing HP and damage for Wrath range makes me think of various Pokemon speedruns where they have to try and get into Blaze/Torrent range. I would say Overgrow, but I don't think any significant speedrun uses the Grass starter. or at least anyone where abilities matter, if it really uses the grass starter. It's kind of sad, because I like a lot of grass starters. It is the type I probably start with the least, but it's not because I don't like the grass starters, it's mostly just because I like the fire and water ones better. I forgot to move Jill. Well, dang it. I knew I was forgetting something. Hey, you're actually possibly getting Nephany into Wrath range. These Wyvern Lords are a little bit defensive, so I at least applaud the enemies for being somewhat of a threat at this point. I use threat very, very loosely. Because, yeah, now all the range enemies are going to be attacking her and wasting a ton of time, but at least I can, maybe Soren might be able to catch up and start fighting them now. I guess longbows are okay in this game. I still feel like they're not that useful. That's more just due to the archers in this game not being all that great. And they're not as useful in Radiant Dawn because third-tier snipers inherently have the ability to attack at 3 range. Although, I believe with longbows they can go to 4 range. They suffer a penalty to accuracy when doing that, but it's not like that really matters when their hit rates are so absurdly high in the first place. And they can't do that with crossbows, I believe. Which... I will be talking about crossbows when we get to Radiant Dawn. That's one of my favorite things about that game, and I wish they'd bring back crossbows. But maybe tweak them a little bit so they don't have as ridiculous of an effectiveness bonus. Maybe change it so the effectiveness bonus is only times 2 for... No, the effectiveness bonus is only like 1.5 times might, or even just 2 times might for crossbows instead of 3 times, because when it's 3 times, it's kind of dumb. It's funny, but it's pretty dumb. I'm getting a little bit worried about that Brave Axe's uses, too. Just thought of something I could talk about, because I actually did mention this before, but only in a failed attempt of Chapter 15. There was an old guide, like back when FE7 first came out, there was sort of like a gaming magazine that I read that had sort of like a tip section, not like a detailed walkthrough or anything. And obviously the information nowadays would be completely, like, Fire Emblem veterans would laugh at it, but it did say some interesting things, like if you're going to be attacked by a lot of enemies in the enemy phase, maybe equipping a rare weapon might not be such a good idea because you will use up a lot of uses of it. But the way that it was worded in such a way that it made it seem like, oh, you're going to get healed, aren't you? I think Gatry can still reach you, though. It was worded in such a way that it seemed like if an enemy attacks you on the enemy phase, you lose the weapon you have equipped, like as in it instantly breaks. It's kind of like, the way they worded it is saying something like, if there are a lot of sword users, then putting Hector with the Wolf Bale on the front line is a bad idea. If you don't lose him, you'll certainly lose that powerful axe, and that's wrong for a few reasons. Firstly, you can't lose Hector, he's a lord, and secondly, not really sure you'd outright lose the Wolf Bale just from a bunch of sword users. But the principle was alright. The idea that, you know, you may want to keep your more powerful weapons conserved for, yeah, situations where you really need them rather than when a whole bunch of enemies are rushing you. That's where often iron weapons are very practical, because sometimes you just can kill things even with iron weapons, in which case why use anything better? So we're slowly thinning out their that's a Brave Sword. And Brave Sword Swordmasters aren't all that scary, because, I mean, that guy actually does have a somewhat decent amount of attack power, but I still have... It didn't actually happen in this chapter, it happened in the next chapter, but something really funny happened with Brave Weapons for me once, where I was really afraid of a Swordmaster with a Brave Sword, and then it turned out that their attacks went like, no damage, miss, no damage, miss. Still don't like how Wyvern... I mean, I say this and I was already going on about how I don't really care about aesthetics or graphics, but I still don't really like how Wyvern riders look in this game. They look better in Radiant Dawn. And yes, 3 stats cap now. And that's probably as far as you'll be going, because, like I said, there's really no reason for her to cap. Like, she's not going to cap defense. They really shouldn't have made her defense cap that high. She is not a certain soldier from Radiant Dawn who thinks he's an Armor Knight. Okay, I might just want to have Jill hit and run against someone. Yeah, that longbow is going to be annoying, so let's get rid of the longbow now. And the irony of Jill using the Lagu's Lance post-character developments. Some of the comments did mention how my idea of Jill having a personal skill that changes sounds a lot like Valkyria Chronicles 2, where some characters would have missions that would change their negative potentials into positive ones, and that's exactly what I was going for. Haven't actually played Valkyria Chronicles 2 because I never owned a PSP, but I was gonna smite Iron. I have Racing, it's really fine. But that's what I was going for. I love the fact that in that game you get side quests that turn squad members' negative potentials into positive ones. Yeah, VC1 was annoying in that anyone who had negative potentials was stuck with them. Now, I really, really don't want Soren getting attacked by that Brave Sword. That would be really bad. Also, that is part of the cliff, so can't actually move anyone there. Okay, wherever Racing goes, he needs to have enough movement to get out of there. And he really doesn't want to get hit by that Brave Sword. Well, that's 1 more HP heal with Blessing, I guess. Still not quite enough. Do I have... I do have someone who can shove. That would result in... Actually, no, you won't be able to reach there, so it's just a Paladin. And 2 can't stand side by side. Actually, that's good, because they'll be getting support bonuses. Hit plus 15 and Void plus 5, which is not exactly the greatest of support bonuses. But any support bonus is a good one, I guess. And I'll move Ike first, because that way Soren gets the support bonus. And we should be triggering the boss's proximity reinforcements pretty soon. Ah, there we go. That's the cape rip that I was talking about. It was only pretty small there, but I find that sometimes paladins' capes clip through their horses in such a way that it looks like you tore a bit of a hole in their cape when you were attacking them, which I always found funny. And that's pretty cool. I guess speaking of Soren and his battle animations, there were people who, it was like, in the official Japanese website did a Q&A for this game a really long time ago. One of the questions they actually got asked was, how is Soren's hair tied? And people suspect that it was cosplayers asking them those questions, or like aspiring cosplayers asking those questions. I also found it kind of cool how... This is actually a fact that I was planning to mention back in my Awakening playthrough, but I never got the chance, so, Awakening playthrough deleted scenes, well, more like forgotten scenes. But anyway, I was planning to mention how one of the Path of Radiance... It wasn't an art book, but I think it was Yusuke Kozaki, like, he shared it on Twitter or something. He actually did show how Lucina hides her hair as quote-unquote Marth. I think that's also in the art book, too. So now it's time for the Brave Swordmaster to show himself. yeah. At least you're avoiding being doubled. And unfortunately, that means Nephany can't double you at all because she's capped on speed. Even though her speed could probably go higher. At least she doesn't suffer as badly from a low speed cap as promoted Ephraim does. I mean, he's still pretty good. He doesn't really need his speed cap to be any higher, but he could potentially reach much, much higher speed. That's probably the one reason why Ephraim is only my third favourite lord next to Ike and Lucina. Probably Radiant Dawn. Although Sigurd's pretty high too. But I guess I just find Sigurd, I mean, I like his arc. I like how he follows the sort of archetypal tragic hero storyline. I still think that, like, Fire Emblem 4 First Gen is pretty much a Shakespearean tragedy. Or even Greek tragedy, but he just seems a little bit boring in some regards. His personality isn't really all that fleshed out, aside from how the plot happens around him, and he feels more defined by just making incredibly bad decisions and everything around him going horribly wrong than having any actual character himself. Even though he does have some. And this, I believe, yeah, these are the proximity-triggered reinforcements. And one of them has Blizzard. Which, I know I keep mentioning this, but I like mentioning this because Thrakia is ridiculous sometimes. At least Blizzard doesn't put you to sleep in this game. I need to heal you, because if that crits with a 1% chance, you will die. I've said it many times, but I still don't think that Thrakia 776 is as hard as many people make it out to be. It's only 1 or 2 chapters that are particularly bad. But in general, I don't find it to be that difficult of a game. I think FE6 is harder overall, and Conquest is definitely harder. I used to consider FE6 the hardest game in the series, and bear in mind, I'd never played hard mode. Also, that's what Thoron looks like in this game. It actually looks pretty cool. But you tend not to see it very much because it has a lot of weight, and usually Elthunder does the job better. But like I said, it looks pretty cool. Yeah, not enough to do that, and if Soren's not doing enough, obviously Ike isn't going to be doing enough. I just want to get rid of you guys quickly, because otherwise you're going to be annoying with sniping us at 1 to 2 range, and then cantoing it to safety. I mentioned way earlier, like all the way back in the very beginning of the playthrough, that enemies with Canto were always annoying, and they still are. They get, I think they arguably get even worse with Canto and Radiant Dawn. I've seen some very, very annoying, oh right, you have Meteor. Forgot you had Meteor. You also have a physics staff that I could steal, but I can't do that without getting Volk into range of the boss, which I don't want. In that case... Okay, Elthunder is weighing you down a little bit. I've said this before, but in my test playthrough, I actually did get Soren's strength high enough to use Elthunder without penalty, and that was pretty funny. And then the playthrough I did earlier... The playthrough I did before that one, I used Ileana, and, she pretty much wrecked Ina back in Chapter 21. Okay, that right there, that is the cape rip that I've always been referring to. Finally, we're seeing that. You've got to get a very specific angle, I guess. But yeah, that is the cape rip clipping error that I've always wanted to see. I may actually be able to get Jill to reach one of those guys if I play my cards right. And by play my cards right, I mean move Jill right. She's actually going to the left, but oh well. Now, Raisin doesn't really care about siege tomes, or long-range tomes, whatever you want to call them. I personally prefer long-range tomes, because siege implies that they're, like, good against buildings or something. Yeah, let's just get rid of you before you switch to Meteor. Then I'll only have to deal with the weaker long-range tome. Bolgadone looks pretty cool too, but I really like how Thoron looks in this game. And yeah, the animation going on that long without Jill showing any signs of dodging meant she was obviously not going to dodge that. Magic dodges tend to happen pretty early into the spell's animation, so you can usually tell when someone dodges and when they don't. It's kind of like how in Pokemon Battle Revolution, how if there's a slight pause after the attack text is displayed, you know the attack missed. I think I prefer Stadium, though, where it would actually show the attack going off, but then say that it missed. It was more trollish, but it was more realistic, I guess. Speaking of realistic, I still like that early footage of Battle Revolution where they actually showed attacks having an impact on the environment, but that was obviously too much to handle. I still like Battle Revolution. I know that a lot of people really, really hate that game, but that was my first ever experience at playing Pokemon Online because I didn't use simulators back in the day. I still don't. I don't like simulators. They don't feel as personal to me. Even though simulators do have animations now and they do have all of the official 3D models, I just still don't like simulators very much. But yeah, I think at this point we just stay back. Accidentally quoting Grail there. And I can't do that. It's annoying that I can't see Alincia's exact physic range either. But yeah, I like Battle Revolution. I mean, I admit that it's a terrible single-player game, and don't buy it now because with Wi-Fi being dead on the Wii, there's no reason to ever have it. But I enjoy online, even though there was absolutely no restrictions and people could just use as many Ubers as they wanted to. Usually, you almost never saw, like, most of the people on PBR who seems to actually have EV-trained teams didn't use Ubers. It was kind of interesting. It was like sort of like a courtesy thing. I don't think because, you know, if you did have EV-trained Ubers, you could just destroy everyone there, but I guess without a ranking system, nobody really cared about that, and yeah, it was just interesting from, I mean, not so much a psychological perspective, but I guess just how most of the players on Pokemon Battle Revolution Online who did have EV-trained teams usually wouldn't use Ubers. But that was pretty fun. And okay, this is a tangent, but I'm just going to lead into this. So, I'm going to say something that will probably shock a lot of people. So, I mean, I never played Pokemon Stadium on the N64 growing up. That's because I never had an N64 growing up. My first experience with N64 games was the Wind Waker bonus disc version of Ocarina of Time on the GameCube. But I know a lot of people who had Pokemon Stadium growing up, and there's so many people these days who have a ton of nostalgia towards the minigames. So I'm going to say it. I never liked Pokemon Stadium's minigames. I don't know. I just don't see why people have so much nostalgia for them. And I especially don't see why a lot of people these days don't even care about the actual battling in Pokemon Stadium. They just want to play the minigames. I don't comprehend that. Like, they look fun, but it's just like, I don't know why they're put on such a high pedestal by fans. But yeah, I'm probably going to get murdered for saying that. But yeah, for Pokemon, I've always been more into the battling than anything else. Especially with, it's funny, like, I used to like 3rd Gen contests. Back in the day, I really liked 3rd Gen contests. And then I played contests in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and I started to realize, you know, contests are actually very luck-based and really not all that good. And it wasn't even an issue with the remakes at all. Like, the contests and the remakes are pretty much exactly the same as they were in the original games. I just didn't really enjoy them much. They're just, like I said, they're very luck-based, and like, whether you get the, like, full score bonus for the audience completely relies on the AI to use the right moves. I feel like maybe multiplayer contests could be fun, but back in the day, I never got a chance to do any multiplayer contests because, for some reason, they decided to make it so that you needed exactly 4 players to do multiplayer contests because they really wanted to plug the GBA's ability to have 4-player multiplayer. and those interconnectable link cables. So I think Emerald allowed 2-player contests, and in fact I may have done some contests with my sister back then, but... Oh no, I didn't, because even though Emerald did allow 2-player contests, because Ruby and Sapphire didn't, every player involved in a 2-player contest had to use Emerald, and because my sister had Sapphire, I couldn't have done that with my sister, so no, I didn't get to play multiplayer contests at all, but I do feel like multiplayer contests might be fun, because you can actually strategize around the audience, and predict what moves your opponents are going to be using, so I guess there, but when you're playing against the AI, it's very much luck-based in just, you know, I could get a full crowd bonus here, but it relies on this person to use a tough move in this situation when they... Oh, look, they're using a cute move in a tough contest. Though I am really, really glad for... This is just a complete tangent at this point, but I am very, very glad for how they, like, switched around the contest types of a lot of moves in Oras. So yeah, from here on out, we're going to be seeing just a couple of Paladins every few turns. This is why I wanted to drag this chapter out a bit, but anyway. Like, for example, some of the contest designations of Gen 4 moves in Gen 4 were really dumb. Whose idea was it to make Close Combat count as a smart move? Or Brave Bird to count as cute? So yeah, I'm pretty sure that in Oras, Close Combat is tough and Brave Bird is cool, which makes sense, because the majority of flying moves are considered cool moves, and the majority of fighting moves are either cool or tough. And I think something weird, like, a lot of psychic moves were cute or not, or even, like, one of the... I forget exactly what it was, but I think it was one of the buffing psychic moves that was introduced in Gen 4 for some reason was tough, which doesn't make any sense. I also liked how a lot of the contest combinations were all referencing... A lot of them reference actual move combinations. In fact, I think in Aura, Spikes and Stealth Rock combo. At least I'm pretty sure they do. But there's a lot, like, there's not just Sunny Day and Solar Beam, like, I think even Spikes and Roar are a combo. But I'm not sure about that one. But I know there are some combos that do reference some actually kind of, obscure competitive strategies. So that was always pretty cool. I mean, this is not so much a commonly used competitive strategy, but I believe Taunt and Counter, or Taunt and Mirror Coat is a combo, which makes sense. I also think Swagger and something else is also a combo. But anyway, I'm now not making it sound like I don't like contests, because still, like, I think that contests against the AI aren't very fun and just pretty much luck-based. Speaking of luck-based, I can finally go back to Fire Emblem here, and I knew that you'd max magic there. Yeah, your magic cap is not all that high, so unfortunately only a maximum of 13 spaces range on long-range stars, which is still pretty good, but Soren can reach a lot higher. And in games where magic used to have a 30 magic cap, you can get pretty insane range. But what I was saying is the luck stat. I don't know why they decided to make the luck cap 40 for all classes. Because nobody is ever going to reach that. And, like, Mist has one of the highest luck stats in the game, and even she barely even gets to 30 on average. Elincia too, and she barely gets to 30. So I just realized this is not a defeat boss chapter, so I actually can start fighting the boss now, and I might want to do that. Because he has very interesting dialogue with Ike, although I might want to fight him with someone else first. Because I want to show his normal dialogue beforehand. Bertram is very annoying with his rune sword, but he does tend to switch to his spear quite often if you use a sword against him. So that can work in your favor. Yeah, let's just do this just to show off his regular quote. And once again, we have the powerful foe song here. And that's all you have. Just like in the GBA games, the Rune Sword casts Nosferatu, it's just that it's light magic here. But I guess Rune Sword, it doesn't sound like... That name works for both a light and dark magic-based weapon, so it's not nearly as weird as Nosferatu. Speaking of the Rune Sword, yeah, in the Japanese version of FE7, Lloyd and Linus in Chapter 27 had a Rune Sword, but they changed it in the English version because that was too difficult for those pathetic Western players who can't play games well. But they forgot to change the hint dialogue for the chapter, so Nils still mentions a cursed life-draining blade, which he doesn't use in that version. So, this is actually a bit of mood whiplash, because it contains both a really great moment of snark from Ike, and also some interesting implications about Bertram. Also, that's going to make him sound like Fallen Celica from Heroes now. I love that line. But mood whiplash time. Certainly made good on his promise. So that was Bertram. Only marginally more difficult than Petrine, mainly because he's a little bit difficult to double, but he's really not that bad. I just realized, though, killing him might have stopped the reinforcements from spawning, because in a lot of maps, the boss dying stops reinforcements. And we have the Rune Sword now. Let's send that to the convoy. And now is about the time when we'd be hearing victory is near, if that actually played past Chapter 6. I don't know why that's the case. Okay, I just found out the, not so much the hard way, because these reinforcements are a joke, but the game immediately answered my question. No, killing Bertram does not stop the reinforcements. There are a lot of games where reinforcements do stop if the boss dies. Speaking of reinforcements, I was looking at the FE wiki just on some of the chapters on Thrakia 776, and I forgot how many reinforcements there were in some of the chapters. Like, I've seen one of them that said, like, reinforcements, 40. 40 reinforcements? Seriously? But I think you have to stay in the chapter for a stupidly long amount of time in order for that to actually... in order to actually see them all. And you really will not be staying in the chapter for that long, but... does seem like there are some chapters in that game that have an enormous number of reinforcements. But yes, Bertram. I could say more about Bertram now, but I'm not going to. I will say, if you are wanting to remain unspoiled on Bertram's identity, don't look up the unused content of this game, because there's an unused portrait in the game's data that matches up to Bertram's helmet exactly, and was probably used as the basis for Bertram's portrait. Ike is going crazy with Ether right now. But he hasn't actually used Ether in a while, so I guess he needs to let off some steam. However, I'm getting all the Ethers now, and not... yeah. Let's just say next chapter is when I really, really need Ethers, so I'd better get Ethers then, or I'm going to be very, very frustrated. Also, thank you, Tree, for being a bro and blocking this guy. Titania did take a bit of damage there, so... actually, let's just go ahead and, how close are you to leveling up? Not that far, actually. Might as well get Alincia 1 level up. Of course, I'll need to race in her to do that. And you can't quite get into position. And Mordecai can't, because if Mordecai could smite you, then you would be in position. But yeah, as I said, I need to wait until turn 13, because that'll mean maximum bonus experience and maximum reinforcements at the same time. But I will also need to make sure that Ike can actually seize on turn 13, otherwise that would be embarrassing. I hope that 13 turns is the maximum bonus experience, and it's not like 13 is the first turn where you start losing bonus experience, which might be true, but losing one turn of bonus experience... but getting some reinforcements is probably not a bad trade-off. Ah! And that is why Kanto on enemies is really frustrating. Because that happens. Yeah, Ika's just going to go back down there for a moment. I could actually double smite Gatry here, even though he doesn't really need it, but yeah, let's go for it. Let's double smite Gatry. This is the uses of having 2 smite users. Smite is a really great skill, so I sort of wish it was in more Fire Emblem games, but admittedly it would be hard to justify having shoving in 3 houses, because that means you'd be shoving an entire unit of soldiers around. I mean, since you're also using entire groups of soldiers, maybe it's like everyone in one squad pushes everyone from the other squad ahead. Just imagining it, that sounds kind of funny. Well, this is a bit of a waste of physic. I just want to show Alincia leveling up. In fact, I don't even need to do that. I can just use Mend because of Racing. So this chapter, yeah, it took, plus a few cutscenes at the start. It's approaching 1 hour, 20 minutes, which is actually much shorter than I thought it would be. That's still pretty long by my recording standards, but I could have split this chapter in 2, but I don't know. I don't like to split Fire Emblem chapters in games that don't have save points. I will be splitting the next chapter, though, but that one is actually divided into 2 parts within the game itself. Don't think anyone can shove mist here. And yeah, as you can see, it cut straight back to player phase because there were no reinforcements and no enemies on the map at all. It's always funny when that happens. Enemy phase. Oh, wait, they don't even have anyone, so no needs to show the phase. If only that was true for the ally phase when you have your allies set to hold. But sadly, it is not. I think quite a few enemies come on turn 13. Yeah, that's a lot of them. That is why I wanted to wait out for turn 13. In fact, I'm probably going to need to either Smite or Race and Nethany. So Ranulph is actually kind of stuck right now. And Ike can't... Well, I could fight them, but I'd need to race him, and in that case, he would be... I would be unable to use Nethany here. But then again, Nethany has a lot of experience at this point anyway. It's not like she really needs much more. Now, that doesn't guarantee a hit in this game, I'm pretty sure, because I have seen Ethan miss. More accurately, I've seen 1/2 of Ethan miss, and unfortunately, it was the lunar half. I am looking forward to what the combat experience display says in the next chapter. It's going to be quite a lot here, due to the all-promoted enemies, and the sheer numbers of them. Could have got even more out of this if I boss abused, but that would almost certainly break the rune sword, and that's kind of a rare weapon that I want to show. I normally don't like boss abusing, but in my hard mode playthrough of Radiant Dawn, I actually needed to boss abuse, which is kind of sad, but that's just how it happens. It was the only way I was getting Jill and Nolan promoted at the end of Part 1, and for those who played Radiant Dawn, if you don't have Jill and Nolan promoted at the end of Part 1, then you're in serious trouble in Part 3. Okay, 3 more. Okay, you can't reach, however, I do have Mordecai. Oh, you can only smite her when you're transformed. That's irritating. And Ranulph can't reach. Well, Jill is level 17 anyway, which actually puts her ahead of my practice playthrough, which is surprising. So, I think I'm actually doing pretty well on experience, and that says something considering that I spent a whole ton of it on Bo's experiencing Marsha just for a conversation. Which will happen at the beginning of chapter 28. Although, actually, this chapter did go on for quite a while, because it's, over an hour, 20 minutes, not counting cutscenes. Are you serious? The Silver Lance actually does more than a Night Killer when it's effective. Effective weapons in this game, everyone! Why did I think a 2 times effectiveness bonus was a good idea? Well, I mean, it's good for you, but it's just also the horses are nuzzling. Joss horse / Dayan Soldier's horse, OTP. Love across battlefield. That sounds like a bizarre fanfic waiting to happen. Though, I've heard of weirder pairings. I've actually heard of Gumshoe's coat / Bad's coat in the Ace Attorney fandom. I don't even understand shipping sometimes. But who does, really? I guess I can smite you. So I can get Stefan a little bit of experience here. Stefan and his massive number of brave swords. The problem here is if I have Ike kill you, he is not going to be able to reach the seize point. And you won't be able to shove him. That's not good. I suppose I can show off Amity here. If only Alincia's strength was better, Amity would actually be an amazing weapon. I find that she's decent in heroes, actually, because having a personal brave weapon is pretty nice. But yes, in this game, she's not going to be doing much damage to the enemies. Unless, you shove bazillions of bonus experience into her. Which I think I might have actually done on at least one occasion before. I also like how Nile only shows up its aura if the enemy has any skills. So you're not wasting time when, you know, the enemy doesn't have any skills to negate. I could actually have Miss beat that guy, and Ike is in position to see, so with Racing I might as well do this. Also, Miss, please crit, that'd be great, because I haven't seen you crit before. Oh, how slow Miss Horse is. Yeah, I will need to use Racing to do this, or I could chant for Gatry. Probably needs it more, but I guess I can just bonus experience him next chapter. So yeah, this was a pretty long chapter, like I guessed. But it's almost over. And Miss will get the honor of finishing the final enemy. She sadly can't have an awesome moment in the next chapter, so this will be the closest she'll get. Please rank up swords. Oh. That would have been cool if you did. Because then I could arm scroll you and then get magic weapons. But let's finish it. That soldier looks like a different shade of green to your usual green units. Oh no. Oh no. So, I only learned about this meme recently because I never watched the Fire Emblem OVA English dubbed. I only watched the Japanese subtitled version, which admittedly still isn't very good because Sheeta's voice is horrendous in the Japanese version. It's probably not much better in English, but, oh no. No, 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 Ike said let them go. That means I have to reference the meme. I have to reference it. Ah.
Let them all go, but more!
Meanwhile, in Villain Land, please take my mind off stupid memes. One of your foremost generals only lasted one chapter. Haven't heard of that guy before, but he's just another generic boss. And we're finally getting to see Bryce. So like I said, 2 of the 4 riders are armor knights and 2 of them are cavalry. You forget yourself, knight. The Imperial Guard are all totally useless. Oh wait, wrong universe. Well, actually right universe, because they're pretty useless here too. But here we get a little bit more insight into Ashnard and the kind of person he is. And all of them ended horribly for you. Yes, yes it was! It really was, seriously. This game's random enemies are terrible. Ashnard likes strong opponents. He thinks will prove to be an interesting challenge for him. And with that, please tell me that... Yes, I made it! And that chapter's worth 500 too, so I'm glad that I made the turn limit. There was one more wave of reinforcements that would have come on turn 15, like I said, but that would have meant that I lost bonus experience. So anyway, the clash is over. Next time, it's time for a very, very important chapter. A very important chapter. We're approaching the end of the game, so there's a fight that's been a long time coming. It'll be happening next time. See you then.